a bunch of seniors that'll play their final regular season game at Falcon Stadium. They've been through a lot. I think they came here during a pandemic. What do you say about your seniors?
Yeah, Jesse, I'm glad you asked that. I mean, truly, you talk so much, you try to teach everywhere. I think certainly at the Air Force Academy, the importance of resiliency, and these guys have proven that over and over and beyond. And to come to the academy, the time during the pandemic, the perseverance that it takes in general just to be a cadet here, and then to elevate it even more. And I think especially as an intercollegiate athlete. And they've been beyond remarkable that way, especially our seniors.
Get an opportunity to take on a team that is, I think, impressed a lot of people around the college football world. In what ways has Barry Odom made this season what it is and what he's done?
Yeah, I really thought about 4 or 5 years ago that they recruited exceptionally well, and they've added to it. You look to, the starting left tackle is a transfer from Arkansas. You add a defensive end from LSU. You had a starting linebacker that's a transfer from Arkansas. You had maybe literally the premier returner in all of college football from Modesto Junior College. I mean, just the way they've elevated their roster too, and you look at how complete they are. Offensively. Averaged, nearly 200 yards a game rushing, throw for 225. You look on third down on both sides of the ball. I think offensively like 54-55%, and defensively have only given up 34%, in terms of conversions. And, they're really, really good. I mean, the most I was trying to go through and think about the last 14, 15 years, who are the most capable teams in the Mountain West Conference that we've faced. And I thought TCU was, in about 2010. I thought Boise was enormously talented, and we were getting ready to play them last year. And these guys are the same way. And you look, they've won 8 games. The only losses were at the very end in Fresno and to a pretty fair Michigan team, in the road. So,
when will Zach Larrier and Emmanuel Michel be evaluated for their injuries as far as their status for Saturday's game?
Yeah, it's done. We do it not only each week, we do it each day, and yet they may be a ways out.
And when there are things that you can mistakes that happen during a game that you can coach, right? When there are things like injuries that set in that you can't, I don't know, does the message change to your team at all when you're being hit by a rash of injuries?
It's not a discussion point to answer your question. And a little bit of it's the reality, and that's the real part of where we work. And football's not a game where you always stay on that side of this line we draw, and we always stay on this side of the line that's drawn. I mean, the impact of collisions, they're going to happen. And frankly, there's never been a year where it hasn't happened. And there's no team right now in college football that doesn't have a large number of bruises. So, push.
You talked kind of like, is there anything you can practice defensively to kind of get out to a faster start, especially on that opening drive?
Yeah, it's a good question because you look, there have been times where you have done that well on that initial drive, and there have been some other times where one, you got to credit the other team in terms of the quality of the execution, but you look, not only the last 2 games, but Wyoming, I think, went down with a couple of scores on their first 2 drives. And, just the details that really, really come into play and just how well we have to show it in practice too. So it's not one of those where it takes a while, to adjust to. The size is hard for us to replicate. It truly is. I mean, and yet, you know what? You're playing against a big group this week, so we better get big real fast.
And then the turnover battle going to be important this week.
Absolutely. You look, most certainly it will. And I think not only this week, but truly each game, whenever you see there's somewhat a margin that's multiples, that's a crooked number in baseball. Boy, that's hard to, it's hard to win a game when that happens. Or you win a game if it goes the other direction.
Coach, how do you handle from a coaching standpoint the bumps and bruises, the rigors of academics here late in the season, and then just the pressure of this game on Saturday?
We're at the academy, and yet, you know what, I don't think there's never a season where you don't have a sizable portion of academics at the Air Force Academy. Yet, you take care of that business, you get it done. So when it's time to practice or time to meet, you're dialed in, focused, and you're driven to improve.
So your experience in this is just kind of helping your guys get ahead? Is that basically?
Absolutely. And that is our job. And the coaching part of it is do everything we can to help our guys.
In the games of UNLV I've watched this year, their speed at the skill positions really stands out. I guess what do you see in that regard, and I guess do they compare to anybody else you've seen in that aspect?
This is the most skilled team we've played yet, and specifically to open field speed. The one receiver, there's a reason why he's averaging literally over 20 yards a punt return. They're at 27 yards a kickoff return. The other receiver was productive as a true freshman at Michigan State, and the quarterback is tremendous. And to answer your question, no, this is the most talented group from a skill standpoint that we have seen.
When you mentioned the quarterback, what about his skill set is allowing him to utilize everybody around him?
The ball's extremely clean when it comes off his hand. He's absolutely a threat as a runner. The productivity he has, especially on zone reads, showed up again the other night on Friday night against, in their game. And they're very, very good up front, too. I think when you look, they are large. You look by and large, a group that averages about 320 pounds. They are thick. They are old. Have done a good job as far as adding another player from Buffalo as a starting center who was a really good player there. Like I said, a left tackle from Arkansas. And they're good. On both sides of the ball, they're really, really good. And special teams, every bit of it and more.
With special teams, and you mentioned Jacob DeJesus, their returner. Do you try to kick away from him? Do you just try to rely on being good in your coverage, or do you even allow him to even have the ball in his hands in that instance?
Maybe a little bit of a couple of those things that you mentioned. There are times where maybe you feel like you can place a kick or a punt, and by doing so, does that help you maybe at least try to reduce some square yardage in which he can maneuver? Now, he doesn't need a whole lot of space to be able to maneuver. He's magnificent unless you're getting ready to play against him.
Coach, when the transfer portal became prevalent in college football, did you think UNLV would benefit this greatly as they've had?
I certainly understand why. They're in a prime location, for that to be the case. So if you had a guy that was a good player at Utah, if there's a good player that was at LSU, if there was a good player at Michigan State, being able to tap into if there are two really good players that are at Garden City, or at Independence in terms of the two-year schools, and and yet then also the guys that have been there too. And it's college football really, really changed 2 years ago. It's not even close to what it was like in 2019. And then I think there was another generation. I'm not saying it's another brand new edition of a new phone or Windows software, but and it's changed again. And then those are some of the factors that have come into play.
Coach, can you pinpoint kind of what's gone wrong in the red zone and kind of finishing off drive?
Yeah, and maybe even both sides of the ball a little bit too, right? Where how important it is when you do get to go to be able to get a ball across the goal line. You have to do that well. And the ball's gotten into that area of the field, and, you want a large percentage. They're not all going to be that way, but a large percentage of your drives to conclude with touchdowns rather than attempts, kicking field goals. And the flip's true too. On the defensive side, where you get down there and realizing the difference of holding on where a field goal attempt has to occur rather than a touchdown.
Your team ran for 405 yards in Vegas last year. A lot of that was between the tackles. Have they improved on that in that aspect enough that we should expect a different outcome in that regard?
Yeah. If here's the floor and here's the ceiling, yeah. If here's left and here's right, or here's day and here's night, absolutely. They and specifically, you say, give me an example. I think in their last 8 games, they've only given up 2.9 yards per rush, and which is exceptional. And again, I think what they've added up front with 3 new players, especially in the front 6, and in the other part, having a couple of those other guys that have been there that are bigger. You just see size-wise. Both those tackles are 300-pound guys, and they play. There are times guys might be big. These guys play with good pad level. They bend well, and they don't get moved.
And then the unexpected travel delay. Could there be any positives from the guys having an unexpected day off in Hawaii, of all places, on Sunday?
We're going forward. Golly, there's never a time where – I shouldn't say never. Maybe 1 out of 5 flights that we take actually pulls away from the gate at 12:57 or whatever it is, and you step off the plane within 10 minutes of what it says. We got to adapt.
But I'm saying, could there be a positive from it? Because,
Sure,
this probably is a
could be.
team that could have used a little bit of a mental break. Am I wrong in saying
I
that?
think you got to push. We got to work. We got to improve. And our guys want to, too. And it's not that's everybody. We have to.
And then back to the senior class. From a football standpoint, you guys have invested a ton of game snaps into this group. What kind of legacy are they going to leave from what they've done on the field?
I think you're looking. It's a little bit general. Can you ask me something maybe a little more specific? And I don't want to answer a generalization to something that maybe you're asking that.
You've had a lot of groups come through.
Mm-hmm.
Is this one, from a football standpoint, maybe as good as any you've coached?
Have been exceptional. Really, probably in the history of, honestly, in the history of the school, maybe in a lot of ways. How many classes could go through and say they had 3 or 4 8+ win seasons? And a good number of these guys have. Probably the other part that stands out too is I really think, I was going through this morning, I was trying to think, okay, who else took an official visit to another FBS university, official visit? And I think there might have been maybe 2 guys, and that was it, which what's kind of cool about that, it's guys that said, all right, maybe initially there was a ceiling, and they learned how you raise your potential. I think sometimes we think, well, that's our lot in life, and it always stays that way. And so I'm doing all I can, where I think when you're determined, and these guys are determined, you push the sky above. You know what? Right now, we need to push the sky above us. But they've done that well over their years.
And then I guess from an outsider's perspective, so many seniors are playing. What is coming behind them, and how have you been able to develop that group maybe without game snaps?
Yeah, I don't have a crystal ball. I wish I did. Well, you know, what you do in practice, you're always invested in more than your starters. And we certainly are here too. And we've had a bunch of seasons where we've had a good number of seniors that might be on the starting line, and yet you're pouring it into your younger guys. And I truly don't believe there's another program in the country that invests more in their younger players than we do. The time that we spend with our freshmen and the time that we spend with our sophomores and juniors. And that's in football, but also eyeball to eyeball, just saying, all right, how are things going? And now part of that is, you know, we have those guys. We have those guys over a duration. I think there are some disadvantages, you know, absolutely, that you have not being able to add guys via the portal. One of the pluses, it makes me get to know you really well, and you get to know me really well, and you get as level with one another as you possibly can.
And at the fullback position, if, you know, I don't know Emmanuel Michel's situation, if he can't go, or even if he can, would John Lee Eldridge, who had the investment at fullback in spring, be a candidate to see some snaps?
Could be, yeah. Absolutely could be.
Is there a reason he hasn't been looked at in a game? I guess it's been a while since he's lined up at that spot that I've noticed.
Yeah, I think he had it has been. As far as maybe having multiple carries at that spot, it has.
Is that still something, I guess, why has that not been part of the plan, especially as injuries have occurred, and could it be going forward?
Could be, yeah, absolutely could be. And we've had solid production from that group. You know, you look, the other night, I'm trying to think, like Owen, when he had some snaps against Wyoming, had some productive carries, including your initial touchdown to the left on a good gain. The other night, Dylan jumped in there pretty good too. So we have capable guys, very capable guys there. But John, you know, you're right. John, definitely a consideration for there too.
Well, I want to, with the extra unexpected day off in Hawaii, were you guys able to do anything as a team that maybe had nothing to do with football that will maybe help in cleansing your minds?
We definitely had that extra day. I don't know if you guys are aware, about half the team, we kind of split up and took half the team back on commercial flights on Sunday night, and the rest of the team came back Monday morning. So it was about half and half. They got to stay an extra night there. But I mean, there was nothing that was like scheduled for us to do. But I think it was maybe nice for guys to kind of clear their minds a little bit, and just whether it be hanging out in their rooms or sitting by the pool. It's a good environment to hang out.
What did you go back Sunday night, or?
I went back Sunday night, and my Sunday kind of just consisted of I was eating and getting treatment and then just kind of resting. I didn't do anything crazy. I was just kind of sitting in my room, so nothing too crazy for me. But it was nice to, kind of standard stuff what I would have probably done if I was back here. So nothing too crazy.
With Senior Day coming up. Okay, fine. With Senior Day coming, there's obviously going to be emotions attached to that. Does that maybe also help clear your mind of what has happened the past two games, because this is such a monumental occasion for an Air Force player to play their last, at least regular season home game? Or, what's kind of going through your brain as you approach Senior Day?
Just in terms of, honestly, now that you're saying that, it's really the first time I'm thinking about it. I did fill out some of the logistical stuff today about parents walking out and stuff like that, but I feel like having a short-term memory and moving on from from losses. It's something that we've had to do. The first 8 games of the year, we didn't have to worry about recuperating and having a short-term memory. But the past 2 weeks, it's just, you got to come back and focus on this next week. So I think that's kind of what we've been trying to do is close the blinders a little bit and focus on this week and close out all the noise. It's coming from everywhere right now, so we're just trying to kind of focus on this week. And just in terms of senior night, it's awesome, but it's just another game.
Kind of off of that a little bit, Bo. You guys have had a lot of success the senior class. What do you think your legacy is?
I think our legacy is just victory. Like we've had a lot of success. We've worked really hard. I think we've had a cultural change in this program. Kind of since I've been here. I got here in 2019 for the 11-win team, and then I was gone for the COVID year. But these guys in this program, like the younger guys looking at guys just knowing how to work. People know how to work hard in this program, and people know how to win. So knowing how to win is like I was talking with Trey Taylor, our safety, last night. I was like, yeah, I mean in high school, my senior year I went 3-6 and missed the playoffs in high school. So knowing how to win is not necessarily something that I came in here knowing how to do, and being able to look at a senior class leading the program to 11-2 when I'm a freshman, and then just kind of continuing that since I've been moving up in the program. It's something that you learn, and I've learned how to win, and I hope I'm passing that same thing down.
When you think about the COVID year, it must feel like, eons ago, right? And then also, it's kind of a two-part question. Also, what were you at that time? Do you remember what you were thinking, like, about your future at the Air Force Academy and possibly even football?
When I went home for COVID, there was a lot of guys doing a similar thing to me, so it didn't really feel like I was in. It was definitely uncharted territory for me, but knowing that there was other guys doing the same thing as me, guys that I'm coming up with graduating here in December, full circle. It just having those guys to do it with, it didn't really make me feel like I was going out on my own. So just in terms of football, I knew I had something to come back to with a bunch of guys that were doing the same thing as me. So I didn't feel like I was coming back to a program that I wasn't familiar with or anything like that. So I knew what I was coming back to, and I knew I had guys that were thinking just like me. So nothing crazy, I don't think.
It's a big point of emphasis this week defensively, trying to get out to a faster start, especially on an opening drive.
Yeah, I mean, that's the focus every week is starting fast. I mean, it's kind of funny. Every one of these questions I was talked with Trey last night about. We were talking about how it seems like this year when the defense comes out and gets a big stop on the first drive, it seems like we slaughter teams. Like we come out and we start fast, and that's what we're trying to do every week. And that's, it's definitely a point of emphasis. Like we got to come out playing as good. Like it seems like come fourth quarter, the defense is getting the stops that we need. We need those stops earlier, and we need them all the time. So all that fuel that we have late in the games, when they can count on the defense to get a stop, we need to count on that the whole game, first quarter.
What have you seen from UNLV? Obviously, they've been a surprise team of college football, 8 wins. Offensively, what do they do really well?
They run the ball really well. They have a really, really big group of offensive linemen. I think especially their interior 3, I think they're averaging close to 335, 340 pounds. It's a big, powerful group. Apart from us in Wyoming, we've been the guys who run the ball really, really, consistently. And it just seems like UNLV is kind of joining the fold. They've ran the ball really well. It's a change for us. And we go to Army. It's similar. We come back to Hawaii and they move the ball around and spread us out a little bit, and we're coming right back. And I think our defense is we're comfortable stopping the run. That's something that we can we're bred to do that. So I think we put our heads down and we work, but we're ready to stop the run this week.
Going off of that, you guys facing UNLV, your last, I guess, more challenging opponent regular season. Are you feeling any more pressure this week, or does it kind of just fuel the fire?
I think we need to feel the pressure this week. I think where we've lacked, when we're successful, we come into games feeling like we're underdogs. When that's when we're at our best, when we feel like it's all stacked up against us. And I think we've gotten away from that the past 2 weeks. And I think that may have what bit us in the tail these past 2 weeks. So coming out feeling like we're the underdog, we need to feel the pressure. We need to know how big this moment is for us and what this means to our season.
You said that some of the pomp and circumstance surrounding Saturday's game you're not really thinking about, but just being back here on campus for a game. It's been more than a month. It will be more than a month since you've played a game at Falcon Stadium. How important is it to just be here for a game for the first time in a while?
Yeah, it's definitely important to defend our own turf. Every game you get to play in Falcon Stadium is a privilege, so you never forget that. It's important. Like I was saying, this is a huge game for our season, just in terms of where we stand in the conference and all that stuff. So, we're lucky that we're able to play this at home, and I think it's going to be that's exactly what we need.
Going off of that, have you guys talked about kind of, hey, everything's still in front of us, right? If we win the next 2 games, we probably host the Mountain West Championship. So everything that we want to accomplish really is still right there.
Yeah, I think there's not a lot of positive things that you can say after a loss, but that's been a huge emphasis point. There's still a lot, as Coach Calhoun likes to say. There's a lot of hay to be made here in November. So we have a lot of success still to be had. It seems like it's kind of the dark days around here. We haven't been very successful the past 2 weeks. We haven't been successful at all. And we need to get back to what we do. And it's like I said, it's super important.
Do you think you've had a lot of big weeks this season? The Army game at Empower Field, just being undefeated and trying to keep that going. Do you think that has prepared you for this week? Just the anticipation of a big matchup like Saturday.
I think being in big moments is something that it's another thing Coach Calhoun likes to say. It's exactly what we asked for. We wouldn't be here if that's not exactly what we came here to do. Is thrive in big moments, and we prepare for these big moments. So, we're made for the big moments. I think that's the biggest message.
And talking about senior day, and obviously this is a unique class because of all the COVID guys plus the regular seniors, like a lot of time here. The next question for most people will be, is what's coming up behind you? Because so many of you are playing as seniors that we haven't really seen the next wave of guys. Like, are you confident you guys are leaving the program in a better place based on what you've seen behind you?
Yeah, I think maybe in terms of guys seeing the field as much, there's a lot of super seniors out there. There's a lot of seniors. I know a lot of times I'll go back and rewatch the games, and they'll put the roster out there, and there's a lot of seniors playing. And I like to talk about how people kind of underestimate how much we reload in this program. There's a lot of guys, like the way we execute our practices. Guys get a ton of reps. Guys see everything. If they're not playing in the game on Saturday, it's obviously not the best experience they could get. If they were playing, they'd be getting a better look. But these guys are super prepared. All our guys, they're super smart. They know exactly. This is the Air Force Academy. You don't get in here unless you're smart. And these guys, they value their reps, all that stuff. And I think guys are going to reload. We have a lot of talent below us. A lot of talent to come.
And I know you said you haven't really given much thought to the emotion of senior day, but do you think it will be different for your group, because especially the super seniors, because you guys have been here for so long, and in such a unique way for Air Force to have so many guys in that position?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a unique bond to have. It'll be really special playing together. Like you guys were saying, potentially the last time we could potentially host the Mountain West Championship here. Excuse me. But nothing's guaranteed. Absolutely, there's right now there's only one guaranteed game that we have left in Falcon Stadium, and it definitely means a lot. It's super important, and kind of like he was saying, it's our legacy. So leaving that and leaving Falcon Field better than when we found it, I think is super important.
And when you've looked at UNLV now, having played them last year, what are the biggest differences? Like when you look at them, how have they made this huge jump?
They definitely reloaded in the transfer portal. In my job particularly, we pay a lot of attention to their offensive line. It's really different than it's looked in the past, and it's really really different than it looked last year. They have bigger bodies. They're athletic. It's the whole package in there. So, I don't want to speak to exactly what they've done, but it looks like they've been able to make a bunch of hay in the transfer portal this offseason, or guys coming up in their program.
To get your identity back as a team, especially as an offense, like what do you think is going to be the key, to playing like yourselves again?
Definitely physicality. I feel like that's something that we've been lacking on, especially up front in the O-line room for the past 2 games. And you could tell on film, we just haven't been playing to our standard. And that's probably the main thing that's going to drive this team forward. We always say, we want to put the team on our backs, and we haven't played good enough for the past 2 games to do that.
This is an opponent against which you ran for 405 yards last year, a lot of that right up the gut. Like, knowing that you've done that against UNLV, does that help the confidence, or is UNLV so different that what happened in the past is irrelevant?
I mean, a little bit, but they're a completely different team this year. They're super sound up front, big bodies, and it's going to be a challenge for us, like every game this year has been. And we're looking forward to that challenge, but I wouldn't say it's the same as last year.
Hey, Thor, how you doing? What do you think the legacy is of this senior class?
I'd like to think that it's something special. The way we started out the season, it was really good, 8-0 start. Unfortunately, these last 2 weeks have not gone our way. We haven't been playing the brand of football that we're used to, but I saw something today. It was 31 wins for our senior class, and looking back, it's gone by really fast. But I think that the legacy of the senior class can leave behind is a thing of tradition. The past 2 years we've won 10 games, and that's just something that's our standard. Ultimately want to win the Mountain West Conference Championship, and build upon that.
Obviously, there's a possibility you could be back here for another game at Falcon Stadium, but have you thought about it all of the possibility that this could be the last time that you run out?
Yeah, I have. It's pretty surreal. These 5 years counting the prep school, have gone by very fast, and I can't believe it. It's been a blink of an eye, and I'm going to cherish these last moments I have at home. And even if we do have another game, I'll be looking forward to that. But I'll be excited when we run out there last time.
There's a silver lining that you guys still can accomplish everything that you want, right, with the Mountain West and possibly getting your first Mountain West championship.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the message we got to share with all the guys. Ultimately losing the Commander-in-Chief's trophy, that was a stab in the heart. And then losing last week, it hurt ourselves in the long term. But we got to keep moving forward. And the Mountain West Championship, it's still there for the taking. And we gotta take it 1 week at a time, and win this week, win the day. Compete at practice, and do everything we can to keep going forward.
Turnover is a big point of emphasis this week.
I wouldn't say so, as much as they have been every other week. Every Tuesday, Wednesday, there's always a turnover circuit for those skill guys, and even the centers. We always have riding aside with the quarterbacks, and it's a big part of who we are. And I think we've kind of gotten away from that, and I think everyone realizes that. That's not who we are, turning the ball over like that, and we're going to fix all that stuff going forward.
What can you tell us about Jensen Jones, kind of as a leader and kind of a quarterback?
I've known Jensen since we were at the prep school together. Great guy. Everyone rallies behind him, and that's the same can be said for Ben. Whoever we put back there. Zach was a good guy. We all looked up to him, especially these last couple of months. He was really leading us up there, and we got a new face there. But we're all confident in Jensen. He's shown that he can go out there and do what he can, and with the offensive line and everyone, we're behind him.
Thor, you guys have had a lot of big game weeks. The game at Empower Field, the game against Wyoming. Do you think those weeks kind of prepare you for this game, for Saturday, another big matchup?
Yes and no. I know we don't really pay attention to the outside noise. This is who we are. The big game environments, those are cool on game day and stuff, but we don't really see any of it besides, when we're playing. So I wouldn't really say that it builds to that level, but, we've been in situations where there's, high pressure games and stuff like that, and we're just ready to go compete.
I asked this because I don't know, but, your parents named you Thor. Is that a family name, or was there a reason behind?
Yeah, so my last name's Italian, so my father's side's Italian, and my mom's side is Norwegian. So they wanted to give me a Norwegian first name, and Thorson was what they gave me. So
Did you like it as a kid, or?
yeah, I liked it as a kid. I was always bigger, so I kind of fit. I couldn't imagine what it would be like if I was small. So no, I don't have a hammer.
I'm just curious. Did you go back Sunday evening? Get back yesterday morning?
Yes, we left Hawaii 9. I think the flight was at 8:30, 9 o'clock, and we got back yesterday at 6:30 in the morning.
So you had roughly 20 hours of unplanned time in Hawaii. Were you able to utilize that at all? Clear your head in a way maybe you wouldn't have if you had come straight back?
Yeah, definitely. It was nice to be able, just to, obviously Hawaii is a really nice place, and just to be able to stay there and kind of decompress a little bit. We had a team meeting on Sunday after, the whole plane situation, and Coach Calhoun kind of told us, do what we need to do to, take a step back, get away from football for a second, and just relax a little bit because, obviously going into this week it's super important, but it allowed me to kind of clear my head up and think about the game. So it was good.
Okay. And then back to the senior day stuff. I think most of us will look at the roster and say, wow, especially up front, 5 seniors, what's the next thing for the program? Do you feel like, all of you guys are leaving, that you've done what you can to help the next wave kind of maintain what you guys have set?
I think so, absolutely. Especially in the O-line room, we have a really high standard, and those young guys that sit in on our meetings, they all understand it. I'm excited to see what they can do in the future.
And I know this is, are you guys still having fun with things? Like, it seemed like such a fun environment here when you guys were unbeaten, had all these giant aspirations. Like, have you lost that in this, or is there a way you can recapture it, or has that ever not gone away?
The fun's still there. Obviously, the mood changes a little bit after a loss, but we're a really good team at moving forward. And the vibe in the locker room is all the same. All the guys are excited to be down here, and we're just looking forward to go compete.